Watching this. So we last lesson talked about a few of the different functions that we can do, for example, intersections and local maximum, a local minimum, and things like that. Today I'm just going to do a very brief video where I'm going to show you a couple of other little skills. First of all, how we can do what we call a relation. So that's basically where you have a graph like y equals x or x squared, basically involving y's and x's. And I'm also going to show you how you can find particular points on a line using the point on function, which is really useful. You can answer loads of different types of questions, and I'm just going to show you two examples here. So I'll try and keep this as brief as I can. So I'm going to get rid of this window in a second, but you can see that we've got two things up there. We've got an fx graph, which I've drawn already, that side, on the table, and then we're going to do a y equals, and then we're going to look at where those lines intersect, and then an f of a point, and then fx equals 8. So let's click that. That's going to go away. Let's jump straight in. First thing you can notice is, sorry, that little thing keeps coming up in the way, is that we have kind of a graph which is a bit zoomed out. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my zoom function. I'm going to go to zoom with a box, and I really think I want to have kind of this part of the graph because that's where the turning points are, and I think the little lines down and up are going to be ignored. So I'm just going to zoom in on that, and that gives me a better view of the graph. So then I want to do the first one, which was our relation. We're going to do 4 minus 3x. I go to my graph. I want to enter a graph. Now we've used function before for like fx and gx, but now we're going to use relation. And you can see on the little picture, it looks like a y equals mx plus c graph. We click on that, and my graph I'm going to do is y equals 4 minus 3x. That's going to be a negative gradient and a straight line, and I plot that, and there it is. So relation is just like a function. Just remember it's got y and x. I'm just going to try and, oh no, don't do that. And then I'm just going to move the little label, I think, move it up to here because I kind of want it out of the way. Okay, so there's my graph. You can see there's a straight line, and you can see it intersects in 1, 2, 3 places. So don't forget, if we want to find the intersections, it doesn't allow us to do multiple at once, or if it does, I'm not sure how. So I'm going to do the first intersection, and I'm going to repeat, obviously, analyze graph, intersection, second intersection, and third. So just repeating the same steps, but making sure that I'm covering all of the points. So I've got 3 intersections there, and you can see it's got x and y, x and y, x and y. My calculator is set to 3 significant figures. The reason I've done that is because that's what answers often ask for, but you can set it to different accuracies, but for what the default settings on most of your calculators are going to be absolutely fine. So that's how to do a relation with some intersections. Again, I reuse the intersection skills from the last topic. If we go back to the question, the next thing to do is it says find the f of 3. Now remember, f of x, it's x, so what we're trying to find here, if you think about it, is we're going to say, well, x is 3, and then we've got something, and we're going to try and find what the something is. So what I can use here is the point on function. So I go to my functions, okay, and if you look, there's lots of different things on here, as we've all looked at, but we're going to look at the geometry. And if you look at geometry and points and lines, you'll see there's a function called, point on. So when you click on this point on, now there are other ways to do this, but I think this is the easiest. If you click on the point on the line, you'll notice it's got the picture as a line with a dot on. We select it, and I want to know a point on this graph, okay, because we're doing the function fx. So I click on the graph, and then I can put the point anywhere I want. Now, what people often try and do is they try and get it, so they say, oh, I want f to be 2, and they try and get the point right on it. But as you can see, that can be a little bit difficult. So what you do is just plot the point anywhere. So I'm just going to plot that one there. Okay, and then I go back to my pointer. So there's my point on the line. At the moment, it's x is 0.774, but I don't want 0.774. So I click on the point, okay, and I double click on it, or in your case, you should be able to select it. And you'll notice now it's allowing me to change the x value, and I can put anything I want in there, but I want x, if you remember, to be 3, the f of 3. So I put 3 in. Notice the y value hasn't changed yet. Okay, so I put 3 in and I press enter, and notice it moves the point down to here. Now we already had that point, ironically it was 3, -5, okay, but by doing that I can put that point anywhere I want. You can also do the same thing for the y value, okay, and notice the second question says find f of x equals 8. So this is saying you're going to have something 8 because the value of fx is going to be plotted in y. So basically saying if y is 8, what's the value of x? So here, of course, we already did this one. This was -5. We just did that. Now we're going to find it for 8. So I go back to my graph. I double click on this and I say, oh, make the value of y 8. Go away, stop, get out of my face. There we go. So I click enter and it gives me the value 1.36. So I can go back onto here and say, that's 1.36. Fine, and then I fill in my answers. Where do the two lines intersect? -3.3 and 13.9. And then we had 0.303, 3.09, and finally we had 3, -5. Okay, and those would be those 3 answers. So just to summarize, okay, to plot a relation, that's a y equals graph, we go graph entry, relation, that gives you a y and x graph. This one, of course, is just functions of x or functions of y, but mostly it gives you functions of x. Relation is y equals x, something x, or x squared, or y squared, but something. If we want to find a point on the line, we go to geometry, points, point on, select the line, plot the point anywhere. Don't forget to go leave this function, so you need to either press escape or go back to the pointer, and then you can change the x or the y, but don't try and change them both at once. So this will be really useful for when it asks you to find the f of something, so like the like find the f3, like this one here, and obviously it'll also be useful for solving for a particular value. That's when obviously we look for the y. So hopefully this will help you with today. I don't want the little record button in my face. Go away. And we'll see how this goes. And this is obviously to be used in combination with the skills we used from last lesson. Good luck.